I need to let this moment pass. It's like an ocean wave. I have to let it pass. And once it passes, then I don't hold so much resentment inside because I'm letting you all know. And I'm not blaming or, I think there's something really powerful about acknowledging your feelings, letting people know about it. And also letting people know, like, this is not permanent. This is how I feel at the moment, but it's not a forever moment.
All right, what's up, guys? It's Justin Khan. You're listening to The Quest, or watching it, I guess, if you're seeing me. Today, my guest is Michelle Phan. I'm super excited to have her on. She's the OG creator. I got on YouTube back in 2007, basically invented the beauty and makeup category and was one of the fastest rising stars there for a long time. She's also been an entrepreneur, started her own businesses, and I'm just really excited as a creator, now a new creator, baby creator. I'm excited to hear her story. She's an amazing one. And I've been also constantly inspired by her vulnerability online. That's one of the things that made me want to reach out to you.
Really? No way.
Yeah. So
wow.
Michelle, thank you.
Thank you for having me, and welcome to the world of content creation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call you a baby, though. This is a pretty sweet setup that
I've
you
got
have
a sweet
here.
setup I'm borrowing from my friend James, as we talked about. But I've been doing YouTube for about a year, and it's been really fun for me. And one of the videos, one of my producers of my YouTube channel actually sent me your video that you wrote about, or you did. It was like an animated video about your story.
Oh yeah. Why I left. And it has millions of views. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a very amazing video because it was very vulnerable. About your like, here's my true experience, what was good and what was not so good. And it was a theme that resonated with me a lot because that's kind of the theme of my channel is mostly, I went through this whole story. There were a lot of amazing things, ended up selling Twitch, and people think it's like, that's it. It's so great after that, right? Like your life is perfect. And there were a lot of things that weren't perfect and a lot of things that I really struggled with around identity and feeling like an imposter, not feeling good enough, wanting something bigger, like a bigger outcome, even though there's that weird appetite that you feel like you didn't fulfill, right? Yeah. It's like success is this all you can eat buffet when it's not.
Exactly. It feels like it's like an unquenchable thirst.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had that and I just started being honest about it. And then, seeing your channel and your story, it's like there were a lot of similarities there.
Yeah. I think it's almost like, I don't know if you know this author, his name is Joseph Campbell. He's like a prolific author, writer, but he talks about this philosophy. It's called the hero's journey. Yeah. And how we are all on our own hero's journey. It's funny because your show is called The Quest, right? And for me, it's very similar how it's this alchemical formula that is embedded in all of our lives. And I felt like in my journey, I went through my own hero's journey. And and even when you're done with it, it's cyclical. So you go through it again and again, and it's just a different story this time, but it's still the same formula. Like you start off in your home, a place of familiarity, and then you go off into the unknown, and there's a lot of trials and tribulations, of course, and then you defeat the dragon, whatever that is, and then you go back home completely transformed, and it's like this cycle.
That's the human experience, right?
It is. Yeah. It is.
No matter who you are, you're going to go through some version of that.
Absolutely.
No one starts off at the end. Well, let's talk about, that's why I called it The Quest, and my goal was to bring on people who had an amazing, incredible hero's journey where there was something to learn from for the audience. And I'd love to talk about yours.
I feel like I'm still in the middle of mine. Like I reset my cycle and I'm just going through like a new one now.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about that, but for the people who maybe don't know who you are, they probably all do, but like, how did you maybe give me the synopsis of like where you came from and how you got started on YouTube?
I came from two immigrant parents from the Vietnam War. So I grew up in America. I was born here. And I also grew up with huge identity crisis because I didn't see people who looked like me on TV or in music or anything. And I didn't even know I was Asian until I moved from San Francisco. Like I grew up when I was a kid in SF and also in Oakland. Yeah. And everyone's like Asian, right? And the moment I moved to Florida, I was the only Asian girl. That was the first moment I realized I was different. Yeah. So it was so interesting, like just being aware of a race. Like I'm just a different race, And I think that affected me. It was trauma because I saw how like a lot of people didn't want to be my friend because I didn't look like them, and I was like ostracized just because of who I was, like just on the outside.
Yeah.
And from there, I think I just internalized a lot of my imagination inside, and I was very much in my head creatively. And I think that was my defense mechanism that was also one of my greatest strengths, which is being creative and creating stories and narratives and just never being bored, you know? I was never bored in my head. And growing up, this was like the early internet days. I've discovered the internet, and that was the first time in my life where I felt like I finally found a home where I can truly express myself.
Yeah.
And I started like different blogs on like Blogger and Zanga. And that was a platform that helped me find my, I guess, like reach an audience I didn't have before.
Yeah.
And it, in a way, it gave me purpose to create because I have an audience now. Like in a way, like an artist will create out of passion, but there's something powerful about knowing they have an audience.
Yeah.
Where they have that purpose, they have that motivation to continue creating, right? So I felt that way with this blog, and I had like 10,000 subscribers on my blog, which was a lot.
That's a lot back then.
It was a lot on Zanga. And
what was the content of your blog?
It started mostly with me drawing. I was doing a lot of art. I wanted to work in the gaming industry. I wanted to do like character designs and concept art. And so I was just showing my art. And every once in a while, I would show like a beauty tip or hack that I would use myself. And what was interesting was the engagement for the beauty post just outperformed everything else. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, like common sense, let me just make more beauty content. And I wasn't even making money on Zanga. There was no AdSense. It was so early. And it wasn't until I felt limited. I felt very limited with my creativity on Zanga. And then YouTube came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this Flash Player video platform? Wait, I can just click play and the video plays. I don't have to wait for it to buffer.
Yeah.
It was so game-changing. And I decided to open my own channel on there because anyone can open a channel. Like the slogan of YouTube was broadcast yourself, right?
Yep.
And I was like, shoot, I'm going to broadcast myself. And that's what I did. I filmed my first makeup tutorial, and I didn't expect anyone to watch it. I had zero expectations. And the following day when I came back to look at my video, it had like 20,000 views and hundreds of comments. And I was like, what the heck? Like, this is my most engaged piece of content combined out of everything I had on my blog and everything. And I realized video content in this form on YouTube, I just instantly knew the moment I saw that, I had this feedback loop that this was going to be the future TV. This was the future media, and I needed to be on this. Even though I wasn't going to make any money or anything, my intuition told me, you need to be here and you need to create. And so that's what I did. I started creating.
Were you afraid to put that first video out there? I mean, it's a video of yourself. That's very personal.
No, I think I would have been more afraid if I didn't blog.
Yeah.
But I think because I was blogging since I was probably like 14. So I had at least four to 5 years of experience of just being out there online and even like seeing criticism, all of that. I was so used to it. And I think that kind of primed me, and it got me ready for the next phase, which is video. And it was pretty extraordinary for me to see the feedback because just so that you have context, most people who want to learn makeup before YouTube, they'd either have to buy a book and read the instructions, or buy like, I don't know, like video cassettes or DVDs, right, of instructional videos, or they'd have to go to like a workshop that they pay for, or visit a beauty counter where they do makeup on them, but you feel pressured to buy products.
Right.
So it was very, what's the word I'm looking for? There was nothing that felt...
It kind of created this whole accessibility around this new form of content.
Exactly. It wasn't as accessible compared to YouTube, where you could just be in your pajamas in bed and just watch videos and learn how to do things. And so I immediately saw like, wow, this is so revolutionary because I wish I learned this way. Yeah. So it just made sense for me as a creator, because I'm a true believer that if you want to be the best creator and you continue being better, if you want to evolve and be better, you also need to consume good content in order to create better content. And for myself, I saw like, this is content I wish I saw. So I'm going to continue making things I wish I would see at my age.
That's interesting. It's very parallel actually to gaming and Twitch. You know, it's where there's this there was a type of content that didn't really have a place before online, right? Like before you aggregate this audience and put it online.
Yeah.
Nobody thought like, oh, gaming is going to be, well, some people tried to make gaming a thing on TV or whatever, but it wasn't really a thing.
That's true. That's true. I remember like G4 and all those channels, but the thing is, like, I think why Twitch works, and this is from my experience, I grew up with an older brother, so I grew up like a tomboy, so I would play games, and sometimes I'd be like the backseat gamer and watch him play. But there was that whole relationship of the backseat gamer.
Yeah.
And that was, I feel like Twitch in a way, Twitch nailed that formula of how do we make this backseat gamer phenomenon more accessible to everyone? So it's not one person in the living room, it's anyone can feel like they're part of this adventure with the streamer. I
love the insights that you had. You had these core insights that like YouTube was going to be a thing and you want to be part of it. And then there were certain cases, specifically this makeup case was powerful because there was no easy substitute in the offline world. It was like creating this accessibility for something that people really wanted.
Yes.
And so at that point you were just like, I'm hopping on this and this is what I'm going to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's what technology, that's the whole point of technology, is to make things accessible and easy for us as humans, right? Yeah. And I felt like for the longest time, I was waiting for something like YouTube. Because even video content back then, it was not as accessible. You didn't really have a video player that was instant. You could just press play. Yeah. You'd have to like download it, and it took forever. And so when I saw that, I saw the potential in YouTube, and then YouTube was bought out by Google, I think like a year after I joined, right?
Yep.
That's when I knew, because Google had money.
So you joined in like 05.
Oh, and then I joined in like, OG. I think 06 even, maybe 06, 05. But I was really early. But I didn't upload a video that was public. So I was uploading private videos just to experiment. But my first public video was in 2007.
Gotcha.
And I only made that video because I was rejected from a job interview. So I was still in college, freshman year. Yeah. I wanted to have a job so I can help my mom cover my rent and my college expenses. So I went to this job interview. They were looking for a sales associate at a beauty counter. Yeah. So they were looking for someone who could sell makeup to people. Yeah. And I'm like, hello, I'm really good at this. I love makeup. I can do it. And I did the interview, but they didn't give me the job because I didn't have experience, right? Yeah. And so I was really devastated, but I just went home, and the following day I decided, I'm just going to make a video. Let's just do it. I still love makeup. And in a way, it was a blessing in disguise to get turned down, because I don't think I would have been able to have the time to create the content, and also the drive, because rejection sometimes can be a blessing, where it motivates you to not prove them wrong, but to show like, no, like I value myself. Yeah. This rejection is just
it's just a speed bump.
Exactly. It's just a small little bump. Yeah. And so I just started uploading videos, and there was no AdSense, there was nothing. Yep. But I knew intuitively that there was value in having subscribers on YouTube. Yep. I couldn't explain what it was or articulate it to people, and even friends, and even like some of my teachers, professors at school, they were like, during breaks, they would ask me like, why are you responding to these comments? Like, it's such a waste of time, Yeah. And I was telling them, I promise you, this will help with my resume. Yeah. I don't know how it's going to help. Yeah. And I mean, today, when I'm interviewing people, if I see that some of the people I've hired who they didn't go to like any prestigious schools or anything, but they started their own channel, or they manage like fan accounts for Instagram or Tumblr for like, boy bands and stuff like that. For me, that's a signal that I relate to, because that shows there's some things that you don't learn in school. Yeah. No one can teach you how to be proactive. Yeah. No one can teach you how to be a hustler. That's just an energy you have. And so when I see that the people I'm hiring or interviewing, I see that they're actually going out there, and it's scary. It's not easy to like manage an account. Like, even you were mentioning how like you have people who are helping you. It's literally a full-time job. Yep. So it's so impressive. Like in the early days of YouTube, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's like very early in on YouTube. We were talking, and I was saying like, isn't it interesting how the early top YouTubers, because I'm Asian, right? I have to, hype us up, but we're all Asian. Yeah. We're all Asian, right? Which is interesting, because you see this pattern not only on YouTube, but I saw the same thing in blogs. Yep. When I was starting to blog back in like 2003, top bloggers, all Asian, right?
Why do you
So
think that is?
I think it's definitely culture.
Yeah.
It has something to do with, I mean, some people can easily say, oh, because you guys are nerds, right? I'm like, it's not a nerd thing. It's definitely more of an introverted culture where oftentimes in Asian culture, because of our parents, they teach us to not be so loud, right? Like, you know, you don't want to be the nail that sticks out, right?
Yep.
Like you, or else you get hammered first, right? So you're taught to like just be low key and everything. But the internet, because you're anonymous, or maybe because at the time no one was really online, I think a lot of Asian people, they saw it as an outlet for them to express themselves without being judged.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm hearing from early YouTubers who are expressing that to me. And I totally felt the same way too.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have joined YouTube if there were tons of people on there.
Yeah.
Because I'm an introverted person by nature. So it was definitely a trend I noticed. Early blogging days and early social media platform days, like MySpace.
Yep.
Remember Tila Tequila?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
dude,
was
like
gonna say.
she killed it on
Yeah.
MySpace. She had the most friends on MySpace. So I just kept seeing this pattern like, oh, wow. And I know we're kind of going off topic because I'm seeing this now in crypto.
It's
like
great, yeah.
a lot of Asian people in crypto
Yep.
and Bitcoin. So it's really cool to see that. And I think even for myself, what kept me on the platform and motivated me was seeing the comments from so many girls who were so happy to see someone who looked like them.
Yeah.
And I was getting like millions of views. So it's not just someone that looks like them, but someone who is validated by this platform. Like you're seeing it right there. Like, yeah, we're cool.
Yeah.
You know, don't believe in the stereotypes or the bullies that, you know, I was bullied from because of who I was, because of my race, because of being Asian. Like, no, like, there's something that's why I think representation is,
It really matters.
it
to
does
people.
matter. Like some people who say, oh, who cares? Which I understand, it shouldn't only be about race, but I think the people who say that, and it's a trend I notice, yeah, you were always represented in media and TV, so it's easy for you to say that, but there is something really powerful and to be acknowledged in that way. I think
I think
it does matter.
I agree. I actually I don't think I would have so strongly agreed before, because I also experienced my fair share of bullying as, you know, for being Asian, being Chinese, but I didn't, you know, I never had that big of a chip about it. I kind of like went on, you know, there were other things I had a huge chip about when I was, when I was growing up, but I didn't realize that until more recently, until I started my YouTube actually. And I get so much feedback from like young Asian entrepreneurs or people who want to be entrepreneurs who are like I was actually in Croatia this summer on vacation. It was totally random, and I'm on Var, this like island. It's completely like every single person there's white. There's one Asian guy walked by when he was sitting on a table, and he was like, "Wait, are you Justin Khan?" And then he was like,
"What?"
He was like, "I want to start a company." He was like from the UK, British Asian, and he was like, "Dude, I want to start a company, and like you're a real big inspiration because you're somebody who's Asian who's done it, you know?"
Yeah.
And that, I think at that moment I was like, oh wow, it like really, it's not just, you know, seeing an entrepreneur who's like being vulnerable or explain what's been going on, but like someone who looks like you that can inspire you.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I was really,
well, it's not make believe. It's not a fairy tale. It's real. Your story is real, and and that's so powerful for a lot of people who are trying to figure it out and navigate this world.
Yeah, really meant a lot to me to hear it, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry.
No,
totally
I love
tangent,
that. I love that. I think, but I don't think it's a tangent at all. I think there's definitely this ubiquitous pattern that we see in just all of our stories. Is I think like for a lot of us, for most people in this world, I feel like most people in this world don't feel understood, or they feel confused. They don't see themselves in society, and that's why like when I hear people who criticize influencers, it's like, okay, first off, even the term influencer, I think it just became this weird umbrella terminology for anyone famous. Yeah. Because technically before digital influencers, Michael Jordan is considered an influencer to basketball players, right? Yeah. You know, so movie stars are considered influencers. I mean, they are influencers, but because certain people in the media took that word and applied it to a group of people, now there's this negative stigma applied to influencers, right? Digital, like people like me too.
Yeah.
And like, and I, for me, I get frustrated because I think a lot of these influencers, right, digital, who came out, who were brought up, it wasn't through nepotism.
Yeah.
It wasn't through like connections, family, yo, get me in this movie, get me in the music studio. They were just filming at home or taking a picture at home. And there's something so relatable about that. So for me, I think this influencer movement isn't negative at all. Yes, there's certain negative aspects to it, but you could find that in any industry.
Yeah.
In every industry, there's always going to be like, there's always going to be like a negative polarizing aspect to things. But I think for myself, and this is why when people introduce me as an influencer, I try to correct them like, I'm not an influencer. I'm a creator.
Yeah.
I'm just a creator. Because when I started on YouTube, there was no word salad like an influencer.
Yeah.
And when I was blogging, they called us bloggers, you know?
Yeah.
And like when I was on YouTube, they called us new media stars.
New media stars.
That was the word that was being tossed around. And I realized like even labels, even the idea of labels, can be harmful sometimes, or we don't identify as that. And I think what I'm trying to say is like, that's why in the beginning, when you're asking me, how do you want to be introduced? It's like, I'm Michelle, I'm a human on this planet. And I don't relate to labels. It's hard to relate to like a lot of these labels that are presented to us because
it doesn't resonate, doesn't fully capture who you are.
Exactly. We're all so different. And the moment you choose a label, then it's like you're grouped with
all
people.
All these other people.
You know what I mean? So
how did you tell me about the hard work it took to like make it as a, new media star or like, creating content on YouTube?
It was so hard because it's like being self-employed. You have to be your own boss.
Yep.
And so when you're a content creator, you are in front of the camera. So you are like technically the star.
Yep.
You are producing it. So you're producing it, you're filming it, and you're editing it. So you're you're doing 5 jobs in one. It's a YouTube video. It's not like a huge production that's going to win an Oscar, but it's still a lot of work. And today, a lot of YouTubers, they have a team now that helps them. Like look at Mr. Beast. He has like a whole team. He can't just, but he started by himself. And I think that's why it's wonderfully inspiring for a lot of people, because they can literally go on YouTube, click on oldest video, and they can follow your entire timeline and see your growth.
Yep.
And even me, like I remember you on Justin TV. It's like, there's just something really powerful about people who are sharing their lives online.
Yeah.
Because you can see their growth.
Yeah.
And relate to that.
So for your story, like tell me how it went for you. Like when was it the first time that you were like, this is way bigger than I thought it was going to be?
It was actually when I reached my first 1 million views. Yeah. I think I was like 8 videos in, and it took like 6 hours. Yeah. Which was a lot. Over 1 million within 6 hours was huge on YouTube. And I know why. Because YouTube was not banned yet in China. So half my views, I could see it in the, you had like a little bit of analytics. Like it was rudimentary, but I could see where most of the viewers were coming from, and it was coming from China. Yeah. And I remember the moment when YouTube banned China, it's like I lost so many views, but I was able to focus on like getting a new audience outside of China. But I think that was my holy shit. This is bigger than I thought it was. And then AdSense came out. And I saw the potential of monetizing from it. And so now it's like, it's not just views, it's I can make a living out of this. And that was another holy shit moment too, because money is a good motivator. And in a way you're giving so much time and energy into something, you want to be fairly compensated for it, right? Like time, for me, energy is money. Time and energy, it is money. And the fact that I was able to, now I had the opportunity to monetize from it. That was another moment where I knew, okay, I can support myself with this now. So that changes everything. I'm not just doing this for fun. Yeah. This isn't just like a side hobby. This could potentially be a career that is new. Like it's groundbreaking. I'm literally pioneering it right now. Yeah. And but it was hard because there was no infrastructure. I had no managers. There was no brand deals or anything. I was taken advantage of in the beginning by a lot of companies who underpaid me, or they didn't pay me at all, or they made me all these promises and I made them all these videos and
then they didn't deliver.
They didn't deliver, but I delivered.
Yeah.
You know, I always deliver. And I learned a lot from that too. But yeah, I think like that's the hard part about pioneering anything is it's a
you got to figure everything out yourself, right? Like there's no one who's like doing it for you. There's no one to look at to be like, I'm going to follow that person's example.
Exactly. There's no Google Maps.
Yeah.
Like you're literally just, it feels like a game where you're in an open world and you're going down this unexplored path that could be really scary.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm built for that. So I was totally fine doing it, but there was this lingering thought of, well, what if I fail? Like I literally dropped out of college to pursue YouTube. There's a moment where it was my junior year of college and I was already like so much in debt, of course. And this was like after the economy crashed. I mean, it was a nightmare. Like Washington Mutual, my bank, like they didn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm like, holy shit, what do I do? And I wasn't making that much on YouTube. I was making maybe like $20 a day.
Yeah.
But I knew that, okay, if I grow to this amount, and this is the CPM right now is like $5, if I can get it up higher. So I just made, and no one taught me this. I went to art school. I didn't go to business school or anything. I wanted to be like a designer for gamers or for games. So I mean, it's common sense. If I make more videos and they get more views, I'm going to make more money.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. I just focused on grinding and I made a lot of the content. And then a prestigious brand recognized me. They saw me because they were making stupidly expensive makeup tutorials, the branded ones that were getting like 500 views and they were spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars on this content. And they're seeing my content where I'm just filming it in my bathroom and it has like 1 million views and I'm using their product, right?
Yeah.
So they reached out to me and that brand deal in a way solidified it was actually the first ever brand deal for an influencer and a prestigious brand like that.
Yeah.
First time ever. This was like 2009.
Yeah.
And that because there was a whole contract and then I had to get like a manager. So I got sucked into the system.
So that pushed you into a professionalized entertainment system.
Yes. And it was a huge learning curve for me. Just learning about like agents and managers and like, you know, how many % do they take, which I didn't know. And I'm looking back, I'm like, they were robbing me. They were totally robbing me. And they made it seem like they were doing me a favor. And it's like, I could have just done this myself. Today, of course, I have like amazing like management team. Rare Global, they're awesome. They're all women, love them. But back then I was definitely taken advantage of by people who, and I think what upsets me a lot is like, I feel like a lot of artists, they are artists, you know, they're not thinking about managing business. That's not where they want to spend their time and energy. And so you have those who know a lot about business. They know that they don't know about business. And so they will go in and kind of like, you know,
treat them unethically.
Exactly. Take advantage of them and let them know like, oh yeah, like 30%, that's totally normal. Like that is not normal. You're robbing them. Like what value are you bringing to justify this? So for me, it was a lot of learning, a lot of speed bumps, as you call them. But thankfully, I just had the drive to just continue creating. Like, I love making things. And that is what distinguishes a mediocre creator to a great creator is the drive, the will to continue on. Because like I said, like you are self-employed and you have to be your own motivational coach. And you have to project the content you want to put out. In a way, like I said, you have to be your own audience and be the producer at the same time. So it's this weird, it's very meta, like what's going on in your brain. But the problem is like what I started to see 5 years into it deep, right, was it was getting to a point where the output was too much, like the burnout.
Like you were doing too many things.
I said yes to too many things. That was a problem. I should have said no to a lot of things and just stuck with my intuition. But growing up, I was taught to be a people pleaser. So I just said yes to everything. Because I think for someone like me, and I don't want to speak on like just all women. I feel like we all have our own experiences. But from my experience, I've noticed that when I say no or I don't want to do things, I'm labeled as a bitch or a diva. When that's not true. But on the other side of the spectrum, when someone else does it, they they're cool. Oh, wow. They're
Standing up for
so
themselves.
strong. They're standing up for themselves. They're confident.
Yeah.
And I think that really affected me and my decision making was, oh, maybe I should be more agreeable. I should be nicer. I should just say yes. And that actually held me back a lot in my career. Like looking back, I think of all the times when I said yes to opportunities I didn't want to, and I was pressured to by like either management or just the wrong people in my life that were not looking out for my best interest when I thought they were.
Yeah.
What I learned from that experience was a lot of times people, including myself, we suppress our own intuition.
Yeah.
And it's like the heart. It's the intelligence of the heart. And we activate the intelligence of the brain, the rationalizing, no, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. They wouldn't steal from you because they could go to jail. All this stuff. Like you rationalize it and you silence one of the most important, in my opinion, like the heart is so important. It helps us navigate intuitively in life, right? Like you feel things there's emotional intelligence. I think that oftentimes we undervalue that and we put on the top of the pedestal like rational thinking
intelligence and thinking
exactly where I feel like
thinking.
There should be a balance.
Exactly.
I don't think it's like, because if you don't have any rational thinking and it's only emotional, you're just fucking crazy, So I think it's important to have a balance. And I think for me, mine was definitely out of balance, and I silenced my intuition, which was the one that brought me so much success in the beginning with YouTube and everything. And so now my hero's journey that I had to learn was to listen to my intuition more and just to balance it out with my rational brain.
All right, guys, quick commercial break. Today, my video is brought to you by Magic Mind. Magic Mind is a energy shot that you take in the morning alongside or in replacement of your morning coffee, and it gives you consistent, clean energy throughout the day. If you're an entrepreneur or creative in need of that mental boost, then Magic Mind's for you. It's something I take every day. In fact, I love it so much that I invested in the company. My friend James started this company a couple of years ago to solve his own problem, and he's really built a product that I think is amazing. If you want to try Magic Mind out, you can get 20% off with my discount code Justin20 at magicmind.co. I really like Magic Mind because it gives me great energy throughout the day. It's filled with adaptogens and nootropics that help you focus and make you relax, and tastes great. Once again, if you want to try it out, go to magicmind.co and enter the code Justin20. I'll link it in the description below. Thanks.
Yeah, I went through something similar myself, actually, with, not always thinking emotions were a waste of time or like not important or like not information. And a couple of years ago, I went to this seminar, I guess it was, or like a retreat with a bunch of other tech people. And then I had this thing called a T group. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah. And so in a T group, there's like facilitators, and basically it's like a mirror about your emotions and how you present. And so I learned, some of the things I learned was like, emotions are just another source of data, right? And your emotions are, it's an intuitive data that you're getting, like, and they're designed, like they're evolved to help you, right? Like having anger means something's not right? And feeling anxiety means you worry that something will happen in the future that will be bad, right?
Yes.
And those are signals, and you should listen to those signals instead of like trying to stuff them down, or like, I used to have many different means of escape that were not healthy from those signals. But when I started embracing that, I think I just, it's like you said, it can be a great source of power, or like really being effective in the world, actually.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Especially when you can acknowledge it. Like I have moments where I hear news, or I'm working on a project and maybe something wrong happens.
Yeah.
And before I would think, oh, emotions, being angry, that's a waste of time. Like you're not being efficient. But it's like, no, I'm human. I'm allowed to be angry at this moment and let people know, yo, I'm feeling angry.
Yeah.
But how I'm feeling is not how I feel forever. This is how I feel at the moment. And I need to let this moment pass. It's like an ocean wave. I have to let it pass. And once it passes, then I don't hold so much resentment inside, because I'm letting you all know, and I'm not blaming, or, I think there's something really powerful about acknowledging your feelings, letting people know about it, and also letting people know, like, this is not permanent. This is how I feel at the moment, but it's not a forever moment.
Yeah.
And in a crazy way, I've noticed when I started to incorporate this in like meetings or like work relationships, even like family and stuff, I see like they now feel open.
Yeah.
Like they can now express how they feel. And there's this, you could immediately feel the tension is gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, okay, now that we let it out, now it's like the rational brain can come back in. The emotion is like, okay, I had to say what I had to say, and the brain can kick back on and find solutions.
Yeah.
When before I would suppress all this and just...
But people would really know. They would be able to detect, oh, she's angry, but she's not saying it.
Yeah.
And then,
or who's she angry? Is she angry at me? Like,
Yeah.
oh, what happened? And then they start feeling anxious. And so I think it's so important to have a healthy communication style with your emotions.
That's so powerful. I actually, similarly went through an experience like that where I was always afraid to bring my emotions to work. And if I was angry or upset about something, I would stuff it down, right? Like I would be like, oh, it's not professional to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, but I'm like a horrible poker face, and people would see me and be like, that guy's pissed. Like, and I'm scared, right? And like, so, and it would have the opposite of my intended effect. And when I learned, oh, if I'm angry, I just like name that and say like, oh man, I'm really upset right now.
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's about me.
Exactly.
And me being upset is probably representative of, I have some fears that if this project is not going to go well, then there's going to be this consequence for our company. And like, I'm actually really worried about that.
And it's amazing to hear that, because when they hear that, they now will take accountability too. They're hearing it from someone that they look up to. And I think just acknowledging your feelings, it's something that I wish I was taught when I was a kid, instead of just burying them and just forgetting about it. And then one day it festers and it turns into some fucked up mental issues that you develop, or some weird tick that you develop.
That's the Asian way,
It is the Asian way.
Unfortunately, we have an opportunity to set a new example for people.
Yeah.
Which is why I like talking about this stuff.
There's something powerful about, I feel like vulnerability is a soft power.
Yeah.
The hard power is, we all know what hard power is, but then there's something, in my opinion, that's, I think is more powerful than that, which is soft power. Like if you're vulnerable and you're truly honest with yourself, it just has this effect with people around you. Yeah. And even like, I've noticed even like sometimes when I'm doing talks or I'm answering comments, and I have comments where you could tell like certain people, they chose to misunderstand me. And so whatever I say, it doesn't matter, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But when I approach it in such an honest way, I'm being really honest, like, hey, I felt really insecure at that moment. And I have a lot of insecurities because of traumas I'm still dealing with, but it's not you, it's me. Because I'm responsible for my own feelings. Oh my gosh, floodgate opens, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I feel the same way. And it just becomes like this therapy for people. Yeah. I think communication is something that I'm still learning till this day. I feel like I'm always going to try and get better and better. Like I'm not going to master my emotions. It's because my emotions is constantly, I'm changing as a person. But I know for a fact that if I know how to handle them and I can acknowledge how I'm feeling, that's already a step forward. It's progress for me.
So how did you're very self-aware of, your emotions, like the things that you went through, like kind of, for good and bad, and like how you showed up in those circumstances. It's like pretty clear you've done a lot of work about, on yourself to get to that point. Like, how did you do it? How did you wake up to like all these ways that you were being in the world, in your first kind of like YouTube phase? I
think before I was surrounded by a lot of yes people, and in a way, because they weren't honest with me, I couldn't be honest with myself.
Yeah.
But then when I started to bring in people into my life, like sometimes like family, family, they'll keep it real with you. They tell you shit that you don't want to hear, but you have to hear it. And it's not like you can just disown them because they're family, they're blood, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to see you in Christmas, fuck, so I think like just surrounding yourself with people who know you, who keep things real, who, if they tell you how it is, it's not a personal attack. And I think there's something really powerful about relationships where you have people who ground you. And I started to get rid of the people who were just yes people. And I started to bring in people who weren't scared to fight me, who weren't scared to tell me things that will make me cry. Yeah. Because I need to have a taste of reality. I can't just believe in my own hype. Yeah. You need to humble yourself in a way. And I'm so glad I have these people in my life. And I know for a fact, because of these fights, the fights actually help with self-actualization, because you have moments where you can reflect and you realize, wow, there's patterns I do a lot where I could see these traits that I carry with me because of past traumas. And this is why I'm so defensive. This is why I'm so insecure. And you just become more and more honest with yourself, and it makes you more vulnerable. And then because you're honest with yourself, you start catching it before it happens.
Yeah.
Like you start catching that feeling of insecurity before you even defend yourself. And then you know it, and then you can acknowledge it. And you can even say, hey, I'm going to defend myself because I feel insecure, but this is how I feel. But just even saying that changes the conversation, because then the person on the other side or the group, they're like, oh, she's being honest right now about how she feels, and she's taking accountability for it.
Yeah.
And she's not projecting it onto us.
Yeah.
And so I'd say that's like, that takes a tremendous work.
Yeah.
Tremendous work. Yeah.
So you just learned it yourself. There was no modality or therapy or coaching or something that's incredible.
I had to learn it myself.
Yeah.
I feel like therapy could have helped me get there faster.
Yeah.
But I think there was a stigma growing up of like, oh, if you go to therapy, then you're crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but today I see therapy completely different. And I do have people in my life who act as a therapist, and they have amazing high emotional intelligence. They could technically be a therapist, but they just didn't pursue that as a career. And I'm also like a therapist for them too. So I also learned to be the listener, which is something else I learned along the way is we don't listen enough.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't listen enough, and I had to learn to put my phone down more, to be more present, to not be like, oh, I'm listening to you, but I'm on my phone. Like now I'm looking back, it's like, wow, that is rude. That was rude what I did. Even though I say, yeah, I'm multitasking. No, I'm not like a quantum computer where I can just like really listen 100% to what you're saying and really know what I'm doing. Like, and now these days I'm honest. If I have to look at my phone, I have to tell them, hey, this is really important. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Let me do this. Instead of just while they're talking and I'm like, I don't do that anymore like I used to.
Amazing. So tell me about burning out and then coming back, you know.
Damn, burning out. I feel like I didn't even realize I was burning out until it was too late.
Yeah.
And I it's hard to describe, but I think it started to happen, I would say like maybe 7-8 years in straight of being a YouTuber, like every day, every week. No break, because you can't take a break. You take a break, you lose relevance. You know, the algorithm won't support you and shit like that. And that's your livelihood right there. And it was hard for me to wake up and to be motivated. Like before, I would get excited. Yeah. Even if it was work, I was still excited to work. But then I just lost the excitement. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel like myself. I think that was the problem, was I started to feel this dread, this anxiousness of being someone I wasn't, like this imposter syndrome too. Yeah. Like it just started to catch up to me. Like, okay, I feel like I can't fake this. I can't just pretend I'm all happy and, hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Like I can't do that shit anymore. I need to be myself. Like there was a moment where I think I was 26 and I was doing a video about back to school shopping. And I'm like, I'm 26. What do you like in this it's high school back to school. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, what the fuck am I doing? But there were like brand deals, and there were like people who were telling me, no, you got to do this because like all these brand deals. And I felt pressured into, it almost felt like I was being pressured to stay the same.
Right.
When it's natural for you to change. And there are even comments of people, thousands of them, saying, I miss old Michelle. So that really fucked with my head, where I felt like I didn't have permission to grow. Yeah. I didn't have permission to change. I didn't have permission to even fuck up. Yeah. You know, I had to always be perfect. And I didn't even want to be a public figure. Like I went online to escape the world, the reality, because I was an introvert and there was no one online. And then all of a sudden one day everyone just jumps online. Yeah. And it's like, who the fuck are you guys? Like I've been here. Yeah. And I think like that burnout was happening more and more. And there was also more beauty creators who were coming on. And so I felt this sense of competition. Right. Because I'm Aries. I like to compete. I like to win. Yeah. So I felt like, oh, I need to like be the best. I need to be number one. I need to get more views than them. And so I put this weird pressure to outperform everyone. And I put this pressure to also like turn my life into a competition, a race, when it isn't. You know, life is not a competition and race. And we all eventually reach the finish line at our own pace, right? I know that now, but early on, I think because I was deeply insecure and I wanted to be the best. And this was something that I felt like, this is mine. I own this. And the burnout also helped me let go of a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because I just stopped caring. I think there was a moment where
Yeah.
you just don't care.
Yep.
Like, I can't do this. I don't care. And maybe it is a weird defense mechanism
Yeah.
that your spiritual self and also your physical self is trying to tell your brain, we can't process this. You need time to be normal, to reflect, to not always think about filming and editing and like being on. Like, you're always constantly on.
Yep.
Because it's not like a movie star. They can be on for 6 months, or even like Daniel Day-Lewis, he stays in character for like 6 months. But when he's done, he can just be himself and not be Abe Lincoln.
Yeah.
But I always felt like I needed to always be on. And I think like the burnout, it just slowly creeps up on you. You don't realize it until you lose motivation. You dread creating content. You start hating yourself. Like, I didn't like how I was looking. And there's this weird ageism. Like, I felt like I was getting old and, oh my gosh, I don't look as pretty as I used to. It's so fucked up. So fucked up. And no one prepares you for this.
Yeah.
Because it's new. It's a new industry and everything. And so when burnout happened, I just left.
Yeah.
I actually flew to Switzerland,
Yeah.
got away from the world. And it was amazing because I took that time to travel. Like, I was going to Amsterdam. I was getting lit all the time. I was looking at like Van Gogh paintings. I went to Egypt. I went inside the pyramids. Because I love like Egyptians. I love like ancient Egyptian mythologies, and I have a whole thing with pyramids.
Yeah.
Because I think they're so freaking mystical and crazy. And I don't think aliens built them. I know we built them, and we lost the knowledge. And I just wanted to reconnect with that side of me, this childlike self of wanting to explore, like the quest.
Yeah.
I was in this weird rat race where I was just trying to be the best for no reason, for my own ego, to satisfy my own insecurities, rather than to grow, rather than to pursue something more meaningful than just fame, just clout, just money.
Yeah.
And that burnout and that break, that hiatus, was the best thing that I ever did in my life. And it did affect my clout, because I came back. I was no longer as relevant. No one gave a shit about me. Everyone moved on to like all the other beauty gurus who were starting their own dramas and everything. So I was kind of out of that community and I was doing my own thing. So I felt like, wow, I'm like this alumni that's no longer cool. I'm going back to high school and no one gives a shit about an alumni. Like, who cares about you? But it was, for the first time in my life, I no longer felt that pressure.
Yeah.
I no longer felt that pressure, and I felt so relieved that, okay, now, so recently, I would say even just a month ago, I started to like upload more regularly on YouTube. I'm just filming myself in my room, because before, at the height of my career, I had so many people helping me with my production because I felt like I needed to give people jobs.
Yeah.
Like, I'm making all this money. I feel almost responsible to give it back.
Yeah.
So let me hire this person and that person, even though technically I could have done it all myself.
Yeah.
It would have been more work. They definitely helped. Not like, I love you guys. But like, honestly, I wanted to share the wealth.
Yeah.
And, but the thing is, when I had all these people, I felt responsible for them. And that's the thing about being a CEO or being a boss or being the manager or just being the leader, is that you are responsible for the livelihoods of these people. And so that pressure added on to me burning out even faster, because it was no longer me. It's like, I'm responsible for these people.
Yeah.
But then I realized, you're not responsible for these people. They're responsible for themselves. They're adults. They can take care of themselves.
Yeah.
I need to let go of this trauma that was inflicted on me as a kid. There's actually this amazing Instagram quote. Let me see if I can find it. Dude, I sent this to a lot of my friends because we're all talking about traumas that our parents carried with them, and they unknowingly passed on to us.
Yeah.
But this quote is from, it says, "Kids aren't responsible for knowing how to navigate their parents' tempers, mood swings, or depression. If you grew up thinking otherwise, this could be a key indicator to why you feel overly responsible for other people's well-being while unknowingly neglecting your own."
Yeah.
I was like,
That's so powerful.
holy shit. It's from Haley Page McGee, so giving you credit. But,
Thank you, Haley.
Thank you, Haley. But I saw that. I'm like, no wonder I feel so responsible all the time for people. So that's something I'm still kind of navigating through currently right now, because I have a lot of people that work for me. And but thankfully, I don't feel as burnt out. I don't feel I'm very selective with my projects. I have actually said no to a lot of, because everyone wants, you know how it is. Everyone wants you to be an angel investor, invest in my shit, invest in this. And before I would invest in everything because I wanted to support everyone, but I realized that is not the best use of my time. And two, I have to learn how to say no, because also, like, when you're investing, it's not just money. Like, people want your time.
Yeah, they want your time. They want to call you.
Exactly,
they want your help, your guidance.
And if you say yes to everything, you don't even have time for yourself.
Yeah.
So I've learned how to say no, but still be proactive about it. Like, hey, this isn't for me, but I know the perfect person that you can connect to. Boom.
Yeah.
So I learned how to finally say no. And it was such a powerful epiphany for me, because my whole life I said yes.
That's an incredible realization.
I feel like we went on a crazy tangent, but
no,
yes.
This is so good. It's like exactly. It's funny because it's really parallel. I find a lot of parallels in my own story. Being able to say no and not like be self-assured in yourself, right? Like be like, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm okay with that. I might miss things. It might not be the biggest at X, Y, or Z thing, but like I'm just okay with that.
Yeah,
and
not
like,
every opportunity is for you. You're allowed to say no.
Yeah.
And not feel guilty about it.
Yes. That's incredible. It's very freeing.
I think that's the best word you just said. I think most of us, we just want to be free. We're so blessed because we were able to create something meaningful, and also we were able to create generational wealth for ourselves and our family, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people are not on the same boat, and they want to achieve what we have. But it's hard to, because this is like probably another podcast on another time we will do, or maybe I'll do it on my own channel where I could talk about the corruption of money. But going back to just in general, I think what you were saying about free, I think most people in this world, they're not complicated. Most people are simple. Maybe not everyone in the world is educated, but they have common sense. Yeah. Most people are smart. They have common sense, and they just want to be free. And they feel trapped in something, whether it's relationships, jobs, debt. We all feel trapped by society. And the problem is that most people don't actually know what's happening. They can't articulate why they feel trapped, whether it's like mental or like traumas or society. They think it's like a left versus right thing. And it's so much deeper than that. And I think the more people can find time to be truly informed, not misinformed. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there that that will feed into the wrong emotional feeling that people feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, stories, like you sharing your stories and me sharing our stories, it's some of the best information you can learn, because it's something you can relate to and it's real.
I think it's really important. I always say, like, this like treadmill never ends. When I started off, I remember trying to make it in tech. I wanted to get rich and like make money because it was an ego thing. And I was like, I grew up in a feeling of scarcity, and I wanted to achieve all of this, and I didn't feel like I was accepted or loved by my peers. And so if I was like, just make it, then like I'll be somebody, and like people will be attracted to me. Right. And I remember thinking, like, if I could just make $1 million in tech, then I'd be set, and then eventually, I made it, and then I made a lot more, and it never ended though. I always thought there was like another milestone where it's like, if I could just get to this, then I'll be set. I'll be like the man, I'll be X, Y, or Z things that I, fantasized about. And, when I tell people that, they're like, it's kind of ridiculous, right? Like, I sold Twitch, and then I was still like, what's next? I need to like make a company that's $10 billion. And people are like, what the fuck? Like, that's, that's crazy.
But it becomes an addiction. It's like a drug, right? Success.
Exactly. Like, everything in society is pointed towards like, get to the next step. No matter who you are, there's always someone who's doing better than you.
Yeah.
And it's very addictive, and it's a trap.
It is.
And
it's
so
totally a trap.
You can be happy like way before that, when your basic needs are met. There's like so many things you can do. It's not to say that you shouldn't be trying to like achieve or like, make something, create something, but you can be happy along the way if you have a different mindset, And I think I never had that mindset until much later in life.
I think what helps with that mindset too is you have a sense of security, financial security. I think if most people had financial security, and it's so personal for everyone. For you, it was $1 million. For me, it was $1 million too. So funny, it was like $1 million. But today, $1 million, like when you get to that level, you're considered like poor, just so messed up. Because that's why you feel the need to like, okay, then I need to get to 10 million, and then 50, and then 100, and then a billion. And then when you're in the billions, like, no, and now I need to get 100 billion. And it's just, it never ends.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is markets. It's what we're being marketed as. And that's why I believe as an influencer, myself, including a lot of other influencers, you have to be responsible for what you put out, because what you put out can truly influence how people see their lives and how they project what they want their lives to be. And this is why I don't do videos where I show off my house or I show my cars or I show my wealth. I try to just be really low key, because that's actually who I am. I don't like, I have like a $12 purse.
There we go.
But I'll spend $200 on a nice ass candle that will last a whole month. And so I think like the value system is so personal for everyone. Everyone has a different value system, but I feel like what you said best. I felt insecure. I felt like I wasn't loved. And I knew, because we're economical beings, if I reach a certain level of money, then I'll have that respect in this economical world. And so I reached it, and I noticed right away, boom, it's true. I saw this new respect that I received from others, people who put me down, even like families who talked mad shit. Now they're like praising me and stuff. And it's so interesting that when you reach that level, your eyes open up more and you see more truth. You definitely know who your real friends are, who are really there for you, right? Where am I trying to go with this? I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
So what do you care about now? You know, what's important to you now post, coming back? You were on the treadmill before, really made it, but it was very competitive and you burned out. Like what's important to you now?
I would say sovereignty.
Yeah. And what does that mean? Teaching
people to be sovereign. And I think one of it is being financially sovereign.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm a huge advocate of Bitcoin. And just only Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's it. Like I don't want to like talk about crypto or just or NFTs or anything, just only Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's a savings account. It's something that is truly American. It's the most American thing that was ever invented is Bitcoin because no one can confiscate it. It's truly yours. And it's true independence. Like the whole reason why America was created was so that we stop paying taxes to someone in the what was it, the king and like the British king, right?
Yeah.
And you know how much the taxes were back then? It was like only 2%. How much do we pay today?
Yeah.
Right. And I just know for a fact most people are looking for financial sovereignty, but they don't know how to achieve it or they can't get it. It's hard for them. They have socioeconomical wise, like they just can't get there. And so for me, I started off offering free advice on makeup and beauty, things that truly helped me in life. And now that I came back recently, like a month ago, I don't want to only offer beauty, because I feel like as a woman, I'm more than just makeup and fashion and all of that. Like as a woman too, like if you truly want to be an independent woman in the 21st century, you need to have financial sovereignty. That is so important. And this is something that I want to teach more. And this is why like bringing Bitcoin into this conversation is also, I believe is a philosophy that I want to share, because I see there's a lot of misinformation about it online. And I truly believe women rule the world too. Because if you think about it, every single human on this planet came from a woman. Mm-hmm. So we kind of rule the world. But the problem is that we rule the world, yet we don't have that financial freedom that matches our power.
Yeah.
And I see the power of people who were able to gain financial sovereignty and freedom, and how they are less stressed and they're able to make better decisions in their life. They're able to plan for the future instead of living day to day, week to week. So I'd say that is, I wouldn't want to call it my mission because it just sounds so pretentious, but it's definitely something that I want to share, because that helped me tremendously in my life, where because I have financial sovereignty, I have low time preference.
Yeah.
So I don't have to take on all these jobs and I don't feel like I'm FOMO. I don't have to make FOMO decisions all the time.
Yeah.
I can make decisions that make me happy. I can focus more on developing skills and putting my time into things that bring me joy and bliss. And I believe everyone on this planet should have the opportunity to do that. And so this is why like Bitcoin education has been super important. And what's interesting is people think I'm getting paid by the CEO of Bitcoin, or it's like, oh my gosh, you don't even know. It's like you're just scratching the surface. And it's been a lot of fun just for me to even educate and share and offer advice, because even in this crypto space or just even in Bitcoin, it's mostly guys, to be honest with you. But like I said, women rule the world. And once more women adopt Bitcoin, that's where we have mass adoption.
That's true. That's when it'll be truly universal.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I love it. Well, I'm holding Bitcoin, so I agree. Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, just hold it. Just hold it. Get it off the exchange. Not your keys, not your coin. But I would say like another thing that I really want to focus on too moving forward is just teaching people how owning your soft power, like owning your vulnerability. Just the power of being vulnerable, I think, is a very undervalued trait that we don't reward in society. That the idea that being vulnerable means you're weak is not true.
Completely backwards.
It is.
Right?
It is
Being
backwards.
vulnerable is actually strength.
It is strength.
It says I'm capable and confident of telling you how it really is, how I really am.
Yes.
And I have nothing to hide, and I can't be hurt by it.
Exactly. We need to empower more people to be in touch with their emotional intelligence rather than just suppressing it all the time, because that is what is causing a lot of issues, like mental issues with people. And if you don't work on yourself, there's going to be a certain point because of age where it's going to be be really hard to unlearn a lot of traits.
I 100% agree. Like if your brain calcifies in a certain pattern, and then that's it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yep.
Was there a book or resource that really helped you get in touch with your emotional self?
There's a great book called You Are a Placebo by Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
Excellent book.
Yeah.
He's literally the real Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of his story. Yeah. So he's fantastic. Let me pull up my Kindle because I'm really bad at like memorizing book titles. But there's this amazing YouTube. She's a psychiatrist, a clinical psychiatrist. I think her name is Dr. Ramani.
Dr. Ramani.
Dr. Ramani. Excellent person to have in the background, especially if you're an empath. Yeah. Or you're dealing with people who have narcissistic traits. Yep. Excellent. Like I learned so much about, because I'm an empath and I didn't realize I was actually attracting a lot of people who are narcissists. Yeah. Like a lot of people who have narcissistic traits. I'm not saying they're evil or bad. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But they tend to gravitate towards people who have power and influence. Mm-hmm. But imagine having power and influence and also being an empath. Yeah. Oh, it's like the lottery for them. You know, they can just suck up all your energy and everything because you just keep giving. And so I had to learn, just through her videos, I actually had to learn. It helped me learn to be a self-advocate for myself. Yeah. And to stand up for myself. So that helped me tremendously, her YouTube channel. But yeah, I'd say like those two, like Joe Dispenza, like learning how to like unlearn a lot of stuff and create new thought patterns. Because when I was reading the book, I didn't know that we have around 40 to 70,000 of the same thoughts every single day. So think about it. If you think the same things, you're going to make the same decisions. And you're just in this cycle, right? Mm-hmm. But the moment you start adopting and creating new thoughts and you open up new pathways, it creates a new reality for you. Yeah. It really does. I know it sounds like, new reality, here we go again, dimensions and reality. It's like, no, actually, the moment you start adopting new habits, which it's hard to adopt a habit. It's extremely hard to adopt a habit. But the moment you adopt new thought patterns and habits, you can truly change your life. And the first part is really just unlearning a lot of these thoughts that are holding you back, that are making you second guess yourself, that are suppressing your emotional intelligence, that too. So it takes time, but I think like his book was excellent
It's
people.
so worth it to like make that investment for yourself, right?
It is. It is. And school doesn't teach you this.
I know. That's the other thing. I've always said, like, school, what we teach in school and what should be taught in school, it's like completely different.
I know. I
Like,
wish like school taught us more. I wish school taught us more like financial literacy. That would have helped out a lot. I would have been better at like figuring out like my student loans and everything. But I mean, it's a whole conspiracy that you can go down into, like why they don't teach you that. It doesn't matter. The fact is they don't teach you that. And this is why people who are online, who are creating, they're the new teachers in the way, right? But also be careful because there's a lot of misinformation. And so just navigate carefully. But you can learn so much online now. Like the access of information the youth have today compared to our generation, it's like night and day. So I'm pretty optimistic about the future.
It's an amazing time to be alive.
It really is, yeah.
Love it. All right. I mean, that's what I had. That was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Dude, thanks.
Incredible.
This was cool.